Hello, everyone, and welcome to ILA's second community webinar. Today's topic is going to be an introduction to game development. And with us is Mahmoud As-Sarhani from Regnum Studios. Regnum Studios is a indie game development company within Bahrain. They're actually also the winners of the Microsoft Pan-Arab Imagine Cup, which is quite a big achievement, if I have to say, if I say so myself. Before we start now, we do have a question and answer feature in the bottom of the webinar that allows you to ask questions. So if you have any questions, please feel free to use that feature. We will also answer all the questions at the end of the session. We also have a survey that we want to take your opinions on this session and what other sessions you want to see in the future. So with that, I'm going to hand over to Mahmoud. He's going to take us through today's session.
Hello, everyone. So just a quick introduction about myself here. My name is Mahmoud Sarhani. I'm founder and game developer at Regnum Studio. We're a small indie studio here based in Bahrain. And we're currently developing a game called Apollo X, sci-fi VR horror game that changes according to your heart rate. So if you're interested in any of our games, please head on to our website and subscribe for our newsletter, and we'll keep you posted on what's going on there. So without further ado, I'd like to explain to you guys what is game development. So game development to me is basically a combination of multiple disciplines of creativity packed together using logic. And that's basically what, for me at least, what game development is. I'll explain a bit more further on. So a huge question from a lot of people is, what does game development consist of? I just want to tell you that game development has way more things going around it than what meets the eye. To further elaborate on this is a small breakdown of what people expect from game development. When they say game development, they look at programming, art, and sound, and they think that's it. But in reality, there is way more to it. And a lot of people who want to get into game development kind of go like, okay, where do I fit in? If these are the only parts, how do I fit in? How do I become part of game development? And I'm here to tell you that in reality, it's actually way more. And this is a kind of small breakdown of what it consists of. So game development consists of game design, which also consists of production, project management, direction, and there's a huge list going on there. It also has programming, and programming by itself also has different parts like artificial intelligence, gameplay, UI, programming, so on. There's also art, and art also consists of two things, of 2D, 3D, and audio. Audio is a huge major part of game development. But it's not just audio, there's sound effects, there's ambience, and then there is also business, which consists of marketing, business development, PR, and so on. And these are not the only areas in game development. There's actually much more than that. There's writing, video production, localization, quality assurance, and I can go on. So if you want to be a part of it and you're scared that game development might not be for you, think again. There is actually 99% sure there is a part you can play in game development. So getting into a little bit more details here into how actually to start in game development. So I want to give you guys a few options of the available tools for you to start in. So there's a wide range of tools, and I picked up a few that are mostly popular for beginners, but these are not the only ones. So just to start off, first off is the Unity game engine. So Unity engine is something we currently use at our studio. It's our preferred choice, but it may not be yours. So in here, I'm going to explain to you guys each engine and kind of why to use it and why not to use it. So first off, Unity. Unity is a free game engine available for everyone. It's completely free. It gives you all the features and everything all in one go, and you can use it however you like. It uses the C# programming language for coding. For those who want to do low-level coding, you need to learn C# to use it. It has visual coding, so if you're not familiar with low-level coding or you don't want to do that, you just want something visual, it supports that. It also has 2D and 3D. So if you want to make a 2D game, 3D game, you can do both. And it also exports to a huge range of platforms. So what I mean is you can make the game and basically export it to PC, Macs, Linux, smartphones, so Android and iOS. You can put it on your browser. If you're a licensed developer, you can put it on consoles like Switch and Xbox, PlayStation. And if you really want to get into it, also there's AR and VR. So one top three main points for Unity that are really makes it stand out compared to everything else is number one, the Unity Asset Store. A lot of the engines have their own kind of marketplace where you can download tools, you can download 3D models, 2D stuff, 2D art that you can use in your games. Unity has the biggest marketplace in terms of game engines. And it has a lot of them that is free and helps you prototype quicker and start off really quick in the start of your game making. Another point that Unity is really popular of is something they call build once, deploy everywhere, meaning you basically make your game once in your project. So you start off the project, you begin and you finish off all the features, the levels and stuff, and then you can export that project into, let's say, PC, and then you think, hey, I want to also put it on Mac. You can do that as well. You can also do it for Android and iOS, but it might not be as straightforward. You'll still have to add touch features and so on, but it works. Third point is that Unity is one of the most beginner-friendly Unity engines, game engines out there. So if you're trying to start off, they have a lot of tutorials, a lot of things that you can get into and start off very quick. Next is why not to use Unity? So for us, we really love Unity and we really enjoy using it, but there are other people who might not share the same, say, taste and engines. So why not? Unity programming language is only in C#. There are people who might not like C#, who might not know C#, but know other programming languages that other engines support. So this might not be for you, or you might want to learn. It's up to you. Another point is that if you make money using Unity, if you start making more than $100,000, you need to pay a premium subscription. So it's free, but up to until you start making money. Then you need to start counting. See, if you make more, then you need to pay. It's only fair. Next up, I want to show you a small glimpse of the Unity editor. You might look at it here and it might look a little bit intimidating because of so many things, but it's actually not always like that. So once you start learning the engine and you kind of get into it, this will look like it's super simple, but it just needs time and dedication and a bit of learning. Next up, I want to show you guys some of the most amazing games that were made using Unity. So one of the popular ones is called Ori and the Blind Forest. And a lot of people don't know this, but Hearthstone, which is one of the most popular mobile games out there, is actually made using Unity. Monument Valley, one of the most amazing indie games on mobile. Hollow Knight, also a 2D platformer that's really amazing. And Cuphead. Pretty sure a lot of people know Cuphead. So next up, I want to show you guys is Godot. Godot is kind of similar to Unity in a sense. It's very inspired by it. So, so why do you want to choose Unity? Godot. Godot is free, same as Unity. It has 3 different programming languages: C++, C#, and its own language called GDScript. And you can basically pick and choose whichever you like, and you start programming in there. It also has visual coding, so similar to Unity. It supports 2D and 3D. It deploys on PC, Mac, smartphones, browsers, and consoles. And you may notice that it doesn't have VR and AR support yet, but it's coming soon. And one of the biggest points that a lot of people use Godot for is that the fact that it's open source, which means it's open for the public to see all the codes that are used to write the engine. That allows you to basically open it, kind of look into it, change the code, or perhaps do your own kind of version of Godot. It's up to you to how to use it. And I think a lot of programmers out there appreciate this kind of feature. So why not use Godot? So maybe Godot's not right for you. Why? Because it has a way smaller community compared to other engines. It also lacks a kind of dedicated support, meaning there isn't really a team that's driving the development of Godot. It's community driven. So a lot of the updates and patches and things are made by the community, which is also part of why it also has slow updates. So it's only when the community has time that it prepares and puts up stuff and it gets approved into the main branch and then it's available for everyone. This is how the Godot engine looks like. You might notice that a lot of the windows have similar names to Unity's because again, it's very inspired by Unity, but it's not exactly the same. One point I want to drive is that Godot doesn't have a lot of popular games as of yet. It's only been recently picked up and really being heavily used by a lot of developers. So I couldn't really find some very popular games for a lot of people to know. Next up is the Unreal Engine. So you might know already the Unreal Engine made by Epic Games. So why use Unreal? Unreal is free completely. If you want to use it, it's out there for you to use. It has C++ in terms of programming. It has visual coding. It supports 2D and 3D. It can also deploy for PC, smartphones, browsers, consoles, VR and AR. Three major points for Unreal. Number one is open source, just like Godot. You can go see how it's written, how it's the engine renders and everything, and make your own changes. It has one of the most amazing features, which is called blueprints. That basically allows you to do almost everything visually without needing to go and code. Third point, which is basically an out-of-the-box high visual fidelity, meaning in terms of Unity and Godot and the other engines, you might need to do some work to make the image or the game look pretty. In Unreal Engine, it kind of just comes with it. When you start a project, Unreal Engine kind of already does that work for you. So why not use Unreal Engine, you might think? Number one, because it kind of puts out that high visual fidelity immediately, it really requires a machine that has high horsepower. So if you might be able to use it on kind of lower laptops or PCs with lower specs, but it might take a really long time for you to do something. But if you have a really strong machine, it can do things much more easier. Another point is that Unreal Engine, after you start making your first $1 million, you need to start paying 5% royalties to Epic Games, unless the game is on the Epic Game Store. And that way you don't have to, but on any other store, you do have to pay 5% royalties. Thirdly, is because this engine is so well made and it's huge and it has this high visual fidelity and blueprints, so on, it does require some kind of experience in game development before you start in. My recommendation for those who are really interested in Unreal Engine is that you might want to jump into a smaller engine first, learn the terms, learn how it works, and then jump into Unreal and get into it. This is how the Unreal Engine UI kind of looks like. Again, it might look intimidating. It has a lot of buttons, a lot of things going on. But once you start learning it, it just becomes kind of easier and more understandable for you. These are one of the famous games made using Unreal. You might all know it, Fortnite, obviously, by Epic Games themselves. Final Fantasy Remake, one of my favorite games. Hello Neighbor and Abzu, one of the most popular indie games out there or using Unreal Engine, and also PUBG. You might notice that these games are all kind of made by big teams, but there are smaller teams that can also do it. It just, a lot of studios who are big tend to use Unreal Engine, but the smaller ones tend to kind of go away for something else. Lastly, but not least, is Construct 3. So Construct is one of those engines that are really popular for beginners. I'll tell you exactly why. Even though Construct 3 is not completely free, it has a free option. And it also has visual coding. So it only has visual coding, which helps a lot of beginners get into the understanding of game development. It also only has 2D support. It can, though, deploy to PC, smartphones, browsers, consoles. And it also has a web version, meaning you can do all your work on the web uninterrupted without needing like a really strong PC to run it. Why maybe not to use Construct 3 is number one, it doesn't have 3D support or native 3D support. There are ways you can add it, but it's not really recommended by the developers themselves. It's kind of limited unless you pay for the monthly subscription, which is why it might not be a very popular option. So it kind of limits your features until you start paying, and then it becomes unlimited. But it does help when you're learning and you're just starting out to use it. This is how it looks in terms of UI. It looks a little bit more cluttered compared to the rest, so just more professional looking, but it's simple and it's really straightforward to use. Some of the popular games by Godot is Last Moon, Creature Keeper, and Mighty Goose. And these are one of the other tools out there for you guys to use. So the ones I've mentioned are the very popular ones, but there are other popular or semi-popular ones that you might be interested to know more about. So there is Game Maker Studio. If you played a game called Hyper Light Drifter, it's made using that. CryEngine, which made Crysis, one of those very high graphical demanding games out there. RPG Maker, if you've played a game called Ebb or Mad Father, it's very popular in making RPG games. Source 2, which is used by Valve. If you played Team Fortress, Portal 2. Another one that's kind of recently been picking up is called Phaser. It's web-based, very simple to use. We're still kind of seeing how it goes. If you're into visual novels, then RenPy. RenPy is one of those very popular tools to make visual novel games. Lumberyard, which is technically it's basically CryEngine because it's Amazon's proprietary engine. They kind of bought CryEngine, took the code and added some features and called it Lumberyard. And finally, but not least, is Buildbox. It's a very small, very easy to use engine to make hyper casual games. And it's been picking up very popularly right now to make hyper casual games. So learning resources. So if now that I've kind of given you the tools and you know what to use or what to look for at least, you want to know how and where to learn at least and apply them to these engines. Second. My recommendation is to go for, at least at first, is to go for the official tutorials and documentations of the engines. So I've given you here examples of the engines that I've put up on the top 4, but these are not the only ones. So you have Unity.com, UnrealEngine.com, Godot, Construct, and so on. They definitely help you start off, and no one really knows better than the engine makers in terms of how to teach you, or at least tell you what the engine buttons do. Two of the most popular YouTube channels out there that are that I personally have watched at the start. Number one is Brackeys. So Brackeys is mostly focused on Unity, but it also helps you learn the different parts of game development and how to be a part of it, even if you're not just coding. It really gets you started. Another one is called Dev Squad. It's mostly focused on Unreal Engine, but again, same as Brackeys, it really helps you kind of get into it and start it off. Next up is online courses. So Udemy, Pluralsight have tons and tons of courses for you. They're obviously paid, not free, but some of them are really good and at least helping you understand the different parts and getting you up there on it. Some of those useful resources as well that I subscribe to myself is on Reddit, at least. There's the Game Dev Reddit and Game Design. Those are the most popular ones that I go to almost every day to see what people are doing and how they did it, kind of learn off the community. And it's not isolated to a certain engine, it focuses on all of them. Open Game Art is a website that you can use to download free art that's available for you to use and kind of test it and maybe prototype. It's not made for release games, but it's something to get you started. Another thing is Free Sound. Free Sound has tons of sound effects and music that you can freely use, put in your game and kind of test it out. Again, just to get started. Might not be ideal for the final game, but it's something to go by. Finally, something I also really like to enjoy other than Reddit is Discord. If you have a Discord account, there are tons of servers for you to join to learn game dev. For whatever engine you have or whatever you choose, there's definitely a Discord server. I encourage you to go and look for it and start learning. And they have tutorials, people ask questions, and you can get tons and tons of help. And this is one of them, which is called Game Dev. Very simple URL. You can type it out and join. So before we get into the Q&A and ask or answer the questions asked by you guys, I just want to answer a few frequently asked questions or usually asked at these type of webinars and so on. First up is, do you need to be a programmer to be a part of the game industry? No, definitely not. It's not necessary, but it helps if you are. Meaning, it might help you understand better, but it's not necessary. You can be an artist and still be a game developer. You can be an audio composer and still be a game developer. You don't need to know coding. Number two is, what is the best game engine? I'm here to tell you there is no such thing as the best game engine. Everyone has different needs. So, and there are different ideas with different needs. And I think the better question of this would be, what is the best game engine for me? Now, as I said, Unity is our choice, but it might not be the choice for other developers. So for you to find out what is the best game engine, I really recommend you to go and kind of download them and try them out, because it really depends on your project and idea. You wouldn't go and say, like I said, go Construct 3 and use it for 3D because it doesn't support it. So you want to go and see something that you know how to use, or at least will try to learn to use, and it really kind of helps you envision your idea and make it. Next question is, do you need a team? It depends. Smaller projects tend to kind of have 1 to almost 5 developers at a time. By developers, I don't mean programmers, I actually mean everyone. But larger ones tend to really require a lot more. and it may prove to be very difficult for a solo person to do it. So my recommendation is, how long do you want to stay in that project? The more people you have, the more tasks you can split and work together. The less you have, it will take you longer, but it might be just your vision. Um, Next up is, what degree do I need to join the game dev industry? As I said at the start, you don't need to be a coder. You don't need to be an artist. You don't need to be an audio composer. You can join in the game industry and with any degree. 99% of the degrees are acceptable. Um, all game studios are basically like companies. They need accountants, they need marketers, they need uh, anyone really, HR and so on. So you can be a part of it. Don't be scared that that you think you might not fit. Is there a game dev group in Bahrain I can join? Yes, definitely. There are a few, but we have Unity Dev Syndicate, which is a community we run ourselves as Regnum. It's open for everyone to join, and we're basically on meetup.com. We're on Discord. We used to do weekly meetings before the current situation, but hopefully soon we're going to start off with virtual meetings, and sooner than you know it, we'll have physical meetings again up and running for you to join. Thank you so much for being a part of this webinar, and next up, I want to open up the floor for Q&As, and let's see what questions we have. So if you guys have any questions around anything, please ask it out. There's a button on that says Q&A. You can jump in and start asking questions. All right, first question is by Ahmed Al Khalifa. What are some of the challenges a game developer faces? All right. Let's see. So there are actually multiple factors, and especially if you're working in a team. Basically, the way you try to deliver a vision towards a team member. That's one of the problems which we kind of face, especially when working together, is that I have a certain kind of image in my head, and I need to explain it to my artist who needs to draw it for me. So I kind of have to try to explain it in details, plus at the same way go in a language that he can comprehend, well, not comprehend, but actually kind of helps him envision the details exactly as I want to. That doesn't always work out as expected, but it does help. Another challenge is currently we're facing right now is we have a kind of, well, we have different sizes of project. We have smaller ones and we have big ones. Bigger ones require bigger money, a lot of more money. So finance is one of those things. As beginners, you wouldn't face this. You'd probably start off with a smaller project with a very little amount to spend. So you're going to try to kind of minimize and work on something out very quickly. Hope that answers your question. Okay, next one is, من وين تبتدي وتدخل هالمجال؟ شلون كانت بدايتك وانت داخل هالمشروع وداخل مع جروب عشان تطورون؟ اوكي. السؤال بالعربي it's only fair I answer in Arabic ولا؟
Go ahead, you can answer in Arabic, it's okay. بالعربي الجواب.
حلو. انزين. فأنا ابتديت في 2012. كنت في جامعة بوليتكنيك. كنت في كورس اسمه جيم ديفلوبمنت. كان أول كورس توا شو اسمه حاطينه عن جيم ديفلوبمنت يعني ككل. وهاي كان أول اكسبيرينس حقي إني أجي وأطور لعبة، وكان دائما خاطري إني أدش هالمجال بس ما كنت أعرف شلون. فالجيم ديفلوبمنت كورس يعني فتح مخي وشاف، عرفت عن جيم انجنز، عرفت عن فريم وركس، عرفت عن التوتوريالز انه اوريدي موجودين على اليوتيوب. فهاي بداني اني ادش في الموضوع. فرحت وصنعت اول لعبه في الكورس، بس هاي يعني كانت بدايه. بعدين ما كان في كورسز ثانيه او شيء ثاني، فقلت لازم اطور من نفسي. ما كان في توتوريالز قد الحين باك يعني في 2012. فرحت وكنت ادور يوتيوب، كنت اقرا الدوكيومنتيشن، وكنت اروح اطور اكثر من لعبه. فكل مره احصل فكره اروح احاول اسويها بنفسي، ما اطول عليها، يعني مو بفاينل جيم اللي بحطه في الستور او شيء. كنت بروح بتعلم، فاروح اسوي افكت، اروح اشوف لعبه العبها في البلاي ستيشن، اقول خلني اسوي نفسها، اروح احاول اسوي نفس الميكانيك او نفس الجيم بلاي او شيء كذي، وبعدين اروح احطها واجرب. وتقريبا صار لي السايكل فتره لين 2015 كذي. هني دشيت سيريسلي، رحت وخذيت وانا made our first commercial game اللي هو called Apollo X، و started Imagine Cup و a lot of things، وخذيت وياي team members. One of them is البزنس partner مالتي نوف، وخذين 3 other developers معانا. And we worked really hard، يعني اشتغلنا بجد عشان we continue and come to this far. ان شاء الله جاوبت سؤالك، ما اظن نسيت شيء ثاني. اوكي.
محمود،
Next.
عندنا سؤال في الشات كان من
Yes.
مهدي.
Okay.
We have a question in the chat from Mehdi, which is, can we copycat games?
Copycat games. Very good question. I usually, نفسي from myself, I don't like that idea, but there are people who do, and they tend to follow trends. For example, لما لما PUBG came out and showed the whole world battle royale games, a lot of people started copying. فعندك Fortnite، عندك Magic Royale، عندك a lot of other ones. It worked out for some of them really well, and some of them it didn't. I don't usually recommend it لأن most of the games that are trendy, it's very hard and you copy it and then succeed, because there are tons of other developers who have a lot more resources than you, who can do a lot more better and pull it out, and probably a bigger marketing budget. Yeah. And yeah, it also depends on, okay, you can copy it, but I think it's always best to have your own unique taste in it, or unique twist in it. Okay, next question. Which program is the best to use for beginners? Again, like I answered before, there isn't really a best one. It really depends on what you're comfortable with. There are people who use Python or C#. For me, myself, because I started with high-end programming, so like C#, if I go for Python, I really have a hard time understanding it because it's too simple for me. But there are others who are into simpler ones and find that C# is too difficult. It really depends. So I encourage you to go and look at different ones and see what makes you comfortable. Next is, what type of genre, what type or genre is easiest to develop for game developers? Again, depends on your skills, I suppose. And you have some games that are it depends on your set, basically, of is it only you or is it with a team, and what you and your team are capable of. If your team, let's say your artist, can only do 3D games, you do a game that's 3D. You wouldn't make a game that's 2D. But if it's only 2D, then there are different factors in here. I think the easiest, though, and general wise, I suppose, are hyper casual games, but they're also the most competitive because they're the easiest to make. Okay, next one is, what's the best way to get professional in the game industry, such as big companies like Riot and etc. Biggest tip I can give you is work on yourself, start learning. and never stop learning. You might not join big companies like Riot. You need to start off somewhere. You need to first make your a small game and try to kind of put it out there and test out how the market works and basically learn. The first thing I would say is go work on a project, put it out there, uh, work on it a little bit more, and then try to apply for these companies. They really want to see work done. They don't want to see, just projects laying around, done nothing. A lot of the professional game studios want people. You don't have to have a proper game design, game development degree. You can have any degree, but as long as you show passion and real hard work, they'll take you in. And next up, do you take interns at your game dev company? Right now, unfortunately not. We're small. We're still starting out. We only started our studio back in 2018. So hopefully, when we're open and we have open positions for interns or actual full positions, we'll definitely let you know. So follow us on our Instagram or Twitter or our website, and we'll keep you posted. And yeah, we also teach in our Unity dev community, so make sure to drop by. So we're open there on Discord right now, so you can just jump there and we'll talk.
Great. Mahmoud, thank you so much for giving this session today. It's very insightful. I hope everybody learned a lot today. I just want to remind everybody that there's a survey at the end of this session. Once we end it, you can voice your opinions there about this session and what other sessions you want to see in the future. So I think with that, we can wrap up and say see you next time.
All right. Thank you. Goodbye.
Yeah.